Hi everyone, I hope that you can see me and hear me. I'm just going to let everyone in. Alright, there we go. Cool. Excellent. And I'll be asking you guys if you can see me and hear me as well, which is quite important. Just to make sure that things are going alright. Wicked. So I can see Marcel, we got Nix, we got Robin, we got Alan as well. So nice to see you here, guys. How are you guys doing? Howdy.
Good and you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, guys. Thank you so much for making it to the masterclass. And I'll just keep adding everyone in as they join. How are you guys finding the module so far? Are you guys alright with it? Have you got any questions at all?
Yeah, going great.
Wicked. Awesome. So this week is actually my favorite week of the module, funny enough, because fan sounds is something that is quite close to my heart, so to speak, and it's something I've been using since my early productions in 2009, right? And so I'm going to be showing you some techniques I use, and I'm obviously going to show you some examples too on how you can apply this yourselves, and some music that's been made with found sounds. And I might actually share a couple of secrets, which I will encourage you to not share with anyone. Just keep it to yourselves. This is just for you, right? For your eyes only, right? Or your ears only, so to speak. So I'm going to be sharing some techniques and some things that you can do which can be really, really cool. The reason why I love found sounds so much is the fact that when we're making music, I think one of the most important aspects as producers is actually telling a story. So one thing I've been doing a lot is recording sounds around me and incorporating into the music I'm working on, if that makes sense, right? So if you listen to my previous album called London, I actually went around London with a portable recorder, and I was in Finsbury Park at the time, this neighborhood in London, and I was just recording samples around me, traffic, people talking, recorded my studio, me walking upstairs, open the door, playing the first track on the album, coming through the speakers, and then suddenly just morphs into the album and things like that. So that can be quite creative, but also it gives you a sense of space as well, which is really cool. So sometimes in some music, if you want to sort of fill up the track a bit, it's just nice to have kind of like an in the background found sound that just sounds kind of familiar. It could be like distant traffic, and you can just play very quietly there, but just kind of fills in the gaps as well, and that can add kind of like an interesting kind of sort of layer to what you're working on, right? But also, found sounds can can become the predominant element in a piece of music as well, right? So if you think of music concrete, well, for music concrete, all of it was basically found sounds, and they were just experimenting a lot with, playing around with found sounds and see what they came out with, and also with oscillators and just kind of blend them in together, right? So there is a lot of scope, and I think nowadays, I don't know if you guys agree with me, but it seems to me that found sounds are taking a bit of a predominant role in music production. I think a lot of producers out there, especially thanks to like the likes of YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff, there's a lot of people that just going on using like a looper, and they might just record themselves like hitting something like a cup and then recording the sound of that, then slamming a book and recording the sound of that, and actually becomes a beat and so on and so forth. And also, it's just, I think it's in electronic music production, I think it's just a nice way to sort of add a little bit of a personal touch when working with found sounds. The reason why that is because, like, if you think about using sample packs, let's say for example using Cymatics sample packs, then the likelihood of someone else is using the same kick and snares and stuff like that is quite high, right? Because pretty much everyone has got access to it. Same thing if you go into like Splice, right? You go into Splice, and you can go into like the really cool sort of ambient packs and stuff, and you probably find that some of other producers will be using the exact same sound, and many people actually wouldn't even change it. I mean, obviously this module is here to tell you how to change samples so they don't be, so you actually make them your own. But the likelihood of someone actually recording the same thing that you recorded in your portable recorder is next to nothing. The reason why that is because it varies in many things. It varies in where you took the recording, what microphone you used to make the recording with, the room that was recorded at, because you're not only just recording the sound, you're also recording the ambience around it, right? So that's another thing to bear in mind. yeah, and how you hit the surface and all of those variables could have a massive result, right? They would have a massive influence on the final result, on the musical piece, and that's those variables are vast. So it's highly unlikely that someone else is going to do the exact same thing in the exact same order and the exact same record the exact same sound, And I feel that in a way that gives us a little bit of creative freedom, right? It's almost like like you could think of how a photographer, for example, will might take snapshots of things around him. I might actually create a collage, which is an image that just uses different aspects from different photos and then put them together and create like a sci-fi scape or whatever it is, right? Creating a collage of those images. So this is in a way what we do with found sounds. It's almost like we're taking snapshots in time of things around us that we hear, and we make them fit with a piece of music, right? We're actually creating kind of like a collage as well of different sounds, which is really cool. There's this one thing I'm hearing here as well is like someone is recommending. Would you recommend to get a Tascam, or there is something better to record? I it's entirely up to you, Robin. So yeah, obviously Tascam would be a really good brand, but also you could get Roland, for example, are creating a portable recorder called RO9. That's the one I got. I don't know if you might be able to see it before it disappears. There you go. Maybe no. Yeah, almost. There you go. So portable recorder I'm using. It's very old now, but it's been serving me really, really well. And it's a good one to take with you because it gives you like a fairly good quality, and it records up to 96 kilohertz, which is more than you would really need. Also, you can I don't know. There's so many different. There's so many portable recorders for all budgets, really. But in all honesty, a lot of the stuff I've been hearing lately has not been recorded with portable recorders. Guess what they used to record it? They use their phones. Your phone is the basically is the most advanced portable recorder you can think of. And why is that? Because you have your phone with you at all times. It's highly likely that you're gonna go to a party and take your portable recorder. I mean, you might do, but it's just a bit of a hassle, isn't it? Taking it around, but your phone is always with you. The microphones built into the new phones, into like the latest generation mobile phones, they're actually fairly good. They're not too bad. You can actually get a fairly good quality recording just by using the mics on the phones, right? You can even get stereo recordings if you record a video, right? So if you actually, rather than recording just audio, just record a video, that would be a stereo. So that's also a plus. And also, you can get applications for it, which is one app will highly. I keep banging about this app, but just get it. It's called Koala Sampler, and I use it all the time. And I'm going to show you as well how I use it in a sec. So that's kind of like the ultimate recorder, really. I mean, yes, you can get a microphone attachment, for example, for mobile phones. You can actually get a high quality microphone attachment that will allow you to record at a higher, like with proper professional mics if you want it. And also, there's another thing I've seen, which is Sennheiser actually made a set of headphones, which are not they're headphones, but they also have got built-in mics. Headphones, so you can actually put those headphones on, plug it into your phone. So it's got like a phone connector, which is great for iPhones, I think, but I think that they also are available for Android. And basically, you can use those as microphones. So you could just walk around pretending that you're just listening to music while recording everything around you. In fact, that's kind of like the least intrusive way to record fan sounds, right? You probably have seen someone recording fan sounds going like that with a recorder, with like headphones, or like with like a massive mic, and just going like that, and that can be quite intrusive. But if you if you use headphones, no one would really notice. But the other thing as well, that's another advantage to it, is that when you're wearing headphones, which are microphones, what you're actually recording is what your ears are hearing. And I'll show you. Actually, I've got, I don't know if you might be invisible. Let's see if I can make it. There you go. There you go. These are actually made by Roland. These are I think OSM. I'll probably send you a link. And these basically connect onto your portable recorder, and they just look like normal headphones, but then on the end of them, they've got a built-in mic. So with those mics, you can actually record in 3D, and a lot of my fan sound recordings are actually made with those. Like maybe just I had some cool ones of like, I don't know, traffic or trains passing by, and it's all in 3D, which can also add a little bit of dimension, obviously, and it can sound great on a track, because it's totally unexpected. And obviously now I think that's what we're moving towards. I don't know if you guys have heard of Logic. Well, obviously you have heard of Logic, but you know that Logic now, they have incorporated 3D sound into the software, so you can actually like position elements in 3D. And I honestly believe that that's the future, because we hear things in 3D. We have to move on from normal stereo into more for 3D sound, right? I mean, Hollywood and cinema is moving more towards 3D anyway, so it makes sense that music will be reproduced in 3D sound systems. And they're actually speakers, that there are 3D speakers nowadays, they're like becoming more popular. So I think that's kind of like we are witnessing what's actually going to happen with music. It's just going to be a much more natural sound. It's going to be more sort of like, for the listener, they're going to feel like they're actually there in the middle of the room with the performers around him, which is pretty cool. Or like a symphonic orchestra around him and stuff like that, right? So I think that's where we're moving towards, right? With like Dolby Atmos, for example, right? So I think having stereo recorder is a must if you can, because you get the nuance as well of the elements in terms of like what happens in the left and right channels and so on and so forth. And Kim is just saying there, just enable Dolby Atmos on Fat Filter. Wow, that's great. I think Ableton will probably get on board, but there's actually a plugin for Dolby Atmos that you can buy, but that costs you more than Logic. So it's just like might as well let's buy Logic, right? I was looking into that. So yeah, it runs outside, and you can run it in Ableton, but then the plugin itself is just costs a lot. So yeah, Sennheiser Ambient Orbit. That's the Nick is saying about. Sorry, I'm just reading through your comments here, guys. So Nick is talking about the Sennheiser Ambient Orbit. Is the ones I was telling you about before. You can just they set headphones that have got built-in mics that you can just plug onto your phone. I'll make recordings with that. Okay, so I think that's we are very lucky in terms of the tools which are available to us. And obviously, if you get a portable recorder, then you got the added functionality of being able to actually plug in microphones, which is another thing as well, which is cool, right? So you can have a dynamic mic, and you can use a dynamic mic outside. On the dynamic mic, you'll have to put it really close to the source, which can also be great because you're not going to pick up so much of the ambience around you, right? So it can also give you a little bit more precision. Because the problem that you have with this kind of like, using your phone or using like these kind of headphones or just using like a normal recorder is that they are designed to pick up all the sound around it in 360 degrees. So it's going to pick up everything. It's going to pick up all the nuances around you. So if you're trying to make a recording and there's traffic behind you, whatever, it's going to be there, right? It's going to be present on the recording. So it's not going to be as easy to just get like very defined, crystal clear recordings with that. But, if you're in a room or if you're in your house, there's no problem with that, right? You can hear a perfect recording made with those, okay? So that's some things which are quite interesting. And I'm just going to sort of walk you through a couple of things. So there's a couple of artists which you probably would know, but I'm just going to give you as an example. I'm just going to share the screen with you. And I wanted to kind of like go through a few things today, and I'm going to get you guys to do a little bit of, just have a little bit of fun later. And I'm going to be showing you quite a few different techniques to do with like found sounds and how I use them. So just from the get-go, I'm just going to open a page I've got here, so just bear with me. right? So there's two artists that you might know, Burial, for example. I don't know if you guys have heard of Burial. If you haven't have heard of Burial, highly recommend you guys to listen to him. He is he uses found sounds, and in his first album, which is this one called Archangel, we just move it onto the desktop one. So this album called Archangel, all right, there we go. He was using found sounds from a video game. So the drums that you hear in there, they're actually gunshots and footsteps and everything else that happened on the video game. Right? He was actually using that as an inspiration to create the drums. But if you listen to his drums, they sound like nothing you heard before. You know, they got this kind of like really sort of interesting character to them. Let me just put that in stereo so you can hear it. Absolutely classic tune, as you already know. You can actually hear this crackle there. There's like textures from the street. You can sort of hear in the background there. It's all these layers. I mean, even the strings are from the video game, you know, like literally just took this game called Metal Gear Solid, and he just went like, man, I love this game. I want to make beats with whatever they use in the game, and it just sampled the heck out of it. And he done it really well, you know, like it just broke so many different boundaries. And also there's an organic feel as well, because there's this thing that sort of like goes around saying that Varial actually used this program called SoundForge to kind of line up the beats, and it doesn't have like a proper arrangement view, so he was just kind of like line it up by eye, you know, trying to get the beat sounding in time. So there's kind of like an organic feel to it, you know. It doesn't sound like it's rigid. It doesn't sound like it's been sequenced in a rigid way. It's quite loose and organic, which is, you know, I think it's quite important. And it's funny that we're going back into this, because it feels to me that in music production at the moment, we are going back into that organic sound. Like we've moved on from, you know, having analog synthesizers to having perfect synths, you know, like perfect, you know, close to perfect recreations in digital, and then having like really amazing plugins in the digital world. And now we're like, hold on a minute, we actually like those imperfections. Let's go back on to the original sounds, you know. And also we like to incorporate a little bit of an organic feel to our music by recording sounds around us, you know. And it just, there's a familiarity to it. You can just put your finger on it, but you're hearing it and you're like, I like that. Somehow it sounds familiar, right? So this is one artist, obviously, that he uses found sounds. There's another artist as well, which just made an album now, just recently. And he is Joe Orbison. I don't know if you guys know of him. He's quite a big producer as well. He just made this album as well, where he just uses a lot of found sounds, and he actually uses recordings made on his phone of like people talking and stuff like that. He just uses that and puts it into the music, right? So you can sort of hear there's a little bit of interesting sounds in there, right? Let's put the first one, I think it was. Just forward a little bit. There's a lot of fan sound recordings in there as well, as you can hear, right? The drums are not. They don't sound like normal drums. And they got interesting sort of glitchy feel. Right? It just comes to show, right? How far we can push ourselves. You like it? I wish it. I think it was you, Nick, wasn't it? You were nodding away. I can see you. I can see you nodding away. That's good. That's always a good sign. So I use found sounds in my music as well, as you guys are aware, as I've been kind of like telling you about for ages. For example, here's one track I did called Magical Portal. And just to give you an idea, let me just play you the percussive section of the track, which is this big chunk, which is all found sounds, as it says here. So it's all these layers. So they're not hi-hats, by the way, that's crickets. All of those sounds are maybe like sounds from the kitchen, or yeah, you can hear those crickets in there playing with it. There is a fridge, which is this sound. That's actually a fridge rather than a bass sound. And there's a few more elements in there, like it's like actual cowbells from a cow, literally. I think you can sort of hear there's kind of like different layers. Let me just play that again. That was me hitting like some kind of fence, I think it was. Yeah, you can sort of hear it, right? It's got sort of metallic feel to it. Let's see what else is there. Yeah, that's it, that's a cowbell. And the funniest thing is that it was on a cow that was on a field really far away and actually recorded with my phone. So obviously just to make it sort of fit, I have to like remove all the rumble and use the EQ to kind of like bring it in a little bit more, right? But then if you listen to the track with everything else, it just sounds like it's just part of the track. You don't really think it's a found sound, so to speak, right? It doesn't sound like found sounds. And obviously, you know, like I got recordings of the sea, which had them pan left and right and did all these sort of things just to make it sound cool. But I just play you some of it. And the beats as well, they are hearing, all these beats as well are of, they're found sounds. So that kick is found sound, that snare as well, that hi-hat, yeah, everything. Right, so let's have a listen just very quickly. So that's the sort of feel, as you can see, right? And thank you so much for the comments. I was just reading through them. I'm glad you guys like it. So yeah, it's definitely dubby. I was just going through. I was actually in Berlin when I recorded all the fan sounds. So every single sound you hear is Berlin, which is, I don't know why. When I was in Berlin, I just felt like doing dub. So that's kind of like what happened. It's kind of lo-fi hip hop as well because it's quite slow. It's like 87 bits per minute. So there's a little bit of that in there. And there's another track which I'm just going to show you as well, which aren't using a lot of found sounds, but I just wanted to show you like a different approach to it because I think you might find it a little bit interesting as well to kind of like see the ins and outs on how I approach it. So this other track is called Bird Kingdom, and this one was actually recorded in Bristol. It was at the beginning of the lockdown, so just went ahead and just went to the woodlands, took my phone and recorded everything. So let me just play that for you. Hopefully you should be able to hear. Let me just make sure that I've got the output set correctly. So I'm just going to set that to zoom as you do. There we go, cool. So on this track, everything you're about to hear is found sounds. Even the percussive sounds that you're hearing, actually, the percussive sounds, I actually bought like a very tiny drum and I recorded that myself. So they're actually my own recordings as well. That's my own recording, right? And I think there's like a bass in here, which I also, yeah, I just play that for you and you see what I mean. But yeah, so everything that you're hearing is just my own recordings, minus the, even the hip hop beat that you're hearing, that's also my own recordings. The only sounds are not mine. I think it's this harp type sound, I think it might be. Yeah. which is just actually from an iPhone app, funnily enough, which I kind of play the melody and stuff. But yeah, I'll just play that for you briefly, so you get a feel of what it sounds like as well. All the birds as well, obviously. So if I just solo. Just so you'll be able to hear the fan sounds here. So everything, like the birds were pitched down. There's the sound of leaves in the hi-hats are leaves, I believe. Let's have a listen to that. Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but some obviously like post-processing and stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna show you some techniques as well. So this is how far I'm into found sounds. And in fact, let me just quickly show you. I'm gonna do something. I hope it works. This is quite free flowing. Can you see my screen? Can you see this? If you could let me know, that'd be great. Let me just have a look, see if I can. I don't know if I'm sharing. Can you see my phone screen?
Yeah.
Yes. Wicked. Okay, cool. So this is kind of like the process behind it, using this application. Right. So hopefully you can see all these recordings are made on this program called Koala, and then you can export them. You can actually export them into an Ableton set as well, if you want to work on them. And then you can also export them as a drum rack, which is pretty amazing. Let me just have a look, see what's going on. I think the track from Ableton is still playing. Hold on, stop that for a minute, and let me reshare that. So you can sort of see that in something like I found these days, it's just so immediate, if that makes sense. And obviously I can go over here and I've got empty cells, as you can see, and I can just record whatever sound I want to record. So if I go here, this is the recording function. And that's already been recorded. And you can edit it on the fly and so on and so forth. Right? So that's another thing that's quite interesting. Like, you know, you're not going to carry your Ableton around with you or your laptop with you, but you're definitely going to carry a phone, aren't you? And being able to just like record and edit on the fly, export it in Ableton or export it as a drum rack, I think it's bonkers, really. Like you can even export it as an Ableton drum rack. So this is one secret app I use, which is obviously no longer a secret because I just told you guys. But it's highly advise you to. I think just get it. I think you guys will love it, and it's probably going to change the way you produce music because you're going to think of found sounds as another layer that you can just add onto your productions that you might have not thought of before, if that makes sense, right? So let me share the screen again. There we go. Yeah, answer. Are you guys following so far? Yeah, wicked. Cool. So let me just. I'm going to show you some techniques, and there's a couple of techniques which I will be saying. Guys, take some notes, because I want you guys to practice them yourselves. Okay. So I've got this project I started just for drums and stuff like that, and I'm going to show you another thing as well, just for a laugh. Which you should be able to hear. I'm going to actually attempt to record found sounds live, which is probably not a good idea, but I think, I'm just going to try that. So I'm going to use my portable recorder to do this, but what I'm going to use is these actual binaural microphones. So you can actually hear the sound they they make, right? Or the sound they record, rather. Okay, so I've got this basic beat really just to work with, which again is all found sounds, by the way. None of these drums are actual drums. They're all found sounds. But let's just record one sound, and I'm going to show you one thing. So in found sounds, you can record a lot of different things. You can record impactful type sounds. So anything, I would say, in my criteria, okay, this is not purely academic. This is in my own criteria. So anything that you record that's made out of wood, okay, like a table, a chair, you're hitting something which is wooden in nature, it's gonna be really good for like percussive type sounds. In fact, like if you think about instruments like the cajon, right? The cajon is just literally a wooden box, and that's got a really amazing sound. So anything with that's made out of wood is going to be really good for like kicks. It's going to be really good for like creating kind of like bongo type sounds. Anything like that. Anything that's kind of like glassy or metallic is going to give you a very defined kind of tone. So for example, if you take like a wine glass, then you're going to get something that sounds, you can actually hear the tone of it, right? So anything like that is going to be really good if you want to create like instruments that you can play, if that makes sense, right? And anything noisy, what I mean by noisy would be this. Imagine, noisy would be like river, right? Or the sounds of the sea, or traffic. Like when you're walking around, there's loads of cars, and car engines can be amazing as well. I'll show you one thing briefly for sound design, and obviously, creating some interesting things. But anything that just sounds noisy to your ears, anything that's like quite intense, it can also work very well as like hi-hats, snare type sounds. Can also be really good for like riser type sounds if you want to create risers. And also like, one thing with found sounds, one thing that works really well is just kind of like exploring the recording. So don't be afraid of like pitching something right up or right down, because that can also give you a completely different sort of sound experience, if that makes sense. So some of the best sounds I've got is just by me going, let's pitch this right down and see what happens. So if you make a recording of, for example, the screeching of a train, that's going to be quite unpleasant, but if you pitch it right down, you might get some really interesting harmonics, and you can create like a really, like an amazing kind of atmospheric pad sound or something like that, right? So what I'll do now is I'm just going to open a channel here, and I'm going to solo it, and you can see that my recorder is already recording. I'm going to set that in stereo. I just want to make a recording so you can actually hear how it sounds like in kind of like 3D. So I'm taking my headphones off, because obviously I have to put those on. And I'm just going to record these glass, which are probably is invisible anyway. But let's just make sure that nothing else is active. All right, there we go. So I'm just going to hit record. And I'm going to get quite close to my headphones so you can hear it. There you go. Just for now, right? So I just made that recording, and again, that was just made with binaural headphones, right? So if we listen to it now, let's play that, and you probably will hear my voice as well. So quality-wise, it's not bad, and I'm going to get quite close to my headphones so you can hear it. Can you hear it like in sort of like 3D? It's quite cool. There you go. So with this, it's quite easy, right? It's quite easy to just take that sound and be like, okay, I've got this beat. I'm going to use Simpler for this, right? And the thing I like about Simpler is how quickly it is to work with. And obviously, from next week anyway, we are going to be covering everything. And when I mean everything, I mean everything there is to know about Simpler and Sampler, and obviously sampling, right? So if I go over here, let's just go to the beginning, and I've got that note, right? And let's just sort of trim it so you can hear. The nice thing about this glass is that it resonates quite a lot, but don't be fooled because you can get quite a lot of interesting sounds out of it, right? So obviously that sounds more like a music box, right? If I play that, right? But then playing it quite low, you can get some really, almost like gong type sound. So you could just keep just the resonant, right? Which could be cool, right? So that's jazz out of the glass sound, right? And then you can just say, okay, cool, I can process that, and I can play something along with the beat or whatever, right? One thing that we could do, obviously, inside Simpler is that we can crop the sample. So if I just say, okay, I'm just going to keep just this section of it, and then I'm going to normalize it. So it's possible to normalize within Simpler. So that's obviously going to be way louder now. So let me just adjust the volume. Okay, cool. Cool. Let's just play that. There you go. So out of that, we just made like this really cool sound, and we got the beat going. So let's just play that alongside with the beat and see what happens. So I'm just going to sort of add elements into what I've got. All right, let's do that. Or maybe I can try to do like a lower kind of bass. And you can filter the sound. Right, so if I wanted, you could actually make something that's quite basic, obviously watching the levels and stuff like that, right? There you go, just bringing it down a little bit so it doesn't click. I can reverse it. Yeah. So let me just show you one thing. So if you got a lot of white noise, so I'm just looking through your comments there. So the Chardonnay type bit, definitely. I agree. But then Robin is asking, any tip on if the recording has a lot of white noise? If the recording unfortunately has a lot of white noise, you'll have to use denoiser type plugins, which unfortunately are not available in Ableton. But there's actually one that's free. And there's this plugin called, well, if you can see it here, it's called Bertum, right? So hopefully you can see that on the screen, just there. It's called Bertum, that's the manufacturer, and it's called Denoiser. So you have a recording that has quite a lot of noise. You can actually use this free alternative. And you just set the threshold until you hear less of the background noise. And then you can re-record it so it sounds a little bit cleaner, if that makes sense, right? So if you make a recording that for some reason, you made a really quiet recording, and then there's a low background noise, then you can use something along this to clean it. Obviously, it's not the case on my recording, but you can see that can come in quite handy. And obviously, you can use plugins as well. If you got the Isotope plugins, Isotope are the kings, really. Like, there's nothing that can touch it. I trust me. I tried everything. Isotope are the best for denoising as well. I don't have the full RX8 suite, unfortunately, not yet. I had it, but then I wasn't using it, so I cancelled my subscription. I might actually get it again. But yeah, you can sort of see that it's like really advanced kind of processing. That, for example, this one gets rid of sort of like noise and voice recording, for example. You can also set it for like music as well. You can make it as surgical, as gentle as it can be. So it's kind of like you basically train the software on what you hear is the noise part of the recording, and then once it learns the noise, you can sort of adjust it so it sort of minimizes the noise for you. So it's very cool. It's almost like a really fancy kind of gate effect, so to speak, right? That works across multiple bands. So anything like that would work. But if you don't have Isotope, then this is a free alternative, and again, it's called Berton Denoiser, right? They just actually make and it actually works really, really well. So just give it a try. You won't be disappointed, and it's quite straightforward to use. But yeah, so you can sort of see that out of that glass sound, we created a bass sound, right? and I can add whatever. I can add wobble, and if I want. And that's the thing as well that you might not get from synths. The nuances within acoustic sounds or found sounds is much greater than on synths. What do I mean by that? Okay, on synthesizers, you're using like a sawtooth, a square wave, sine, and noise, and you kind of blend them together and create something that sounds complex. Or if you go like much more advanced synthesizers like Serum, for example, using something that's called wavetables, which is just basically samples. And you can actually select what part of the sample you're hearing. Right, so you can select which portion of the sample you're actually listening to. But that's cool. But when you have found sounds, there's more to them, right? It's really hard to recreate a real acoustic drum, for example, or like a real found sound, right? But then within the found sounds, there's so many different harmonics, there's so much movement that would be really hard to replicate in something like Serum or on a synthesizer. But when you actually have a sample, you've got all that information within the sample, and you can sort of experiment it by pitching it right down, pitching it up, see what's happening there, filtering it, and so on and so forth, if that makes sense, right? So this is a very cool way to sort of explore found sounds, right? And sometimes you might get found sounds that they're not going to work, but when they work, you will be quite happy with the results, right? So this is obviously just one technique, and this would be obviously for sounds, found sounds that they have got a defined pitch to them. A lot of the times, if you want to tune them, you can use the tuner. The Ableton tuner can be quite helpful for that. So if you're finding yourself in a little bit of trouble, and I will always suggest you to tune the sounds as much as you can. So obviously, I think the tuner is kind of like trying to figure out what's happening there, but I'm just going to hit C on my keyboard. And I'm going to kill the volume movement. So I'm going to assume it's on C, yeah. It's close to C, but it's not quite there. So you can just sort of adjust it, just look at the tune and say, okay, well, let's just move to the descents until it's a bit more in tune. Right, there you go. So now if I listen to the bass line, right, if that makes sense. So tuner is a good one to play around with. And I'm going to have a look at another question as well that I've got here. So Kimi is asking me, if we record a sample of our voice and use it as a bass, will that count as a found sound? Yes, of course. Yeah, that's absolutely found as well. So it's something that you recorded yourself and you took it out of context and it's your own voice. And yeah, you can experiment with that. I mean, you probably would say that beatboxing count as found sounds as well. And that's generated by the human voice, right? So yeah, and it's actually great as well. You can get some really cool sounds out of just like human voice samples, right? Like singing onto the mic and pitching it down and seeing what happens, right? So there's other techniques as well that we can use with different types of found sounds, okay? So for this, obviously, what I would suggest you guys to do, obviously during the breakout room, is I'm going to ask you guys to either record some of your sounds and experiment with them, or I also provided you guys last week some found sounds, but I also have got them for you in the forum this week just in case. So let me just show you where they are. So I'm just gonna go into the forum and just paste the link here for you, so you can download them if you haven't got them. So I'm going to be just inviting you to play with found sounds, but in a much more meticulous way. So I'm just going to show you some other ideas as well in a second. Cool, so it's just right there. I'm just going to copy that link and paste it in the chat. There you go, cool. That's the link there. So if you haven't got the sounds, which are the other same sounds I shared last week, but if you haven't got them by any chance, just download them, because you will be using them during the breakout room in a bit. Okay, so just make sure you do that. Okay, cool. So I've got basically a number of techniques I wanted to share. So obviously you can see it's quite straightforward, recording something that has quite a defined pitch, and immediately you can just turn it into something completely different, right? So we recorded that glass sound, we pitched it right down, so I played it lower on my keyboard. We actually tuned it, right? So I tuned it by using the tuner, so it sounded kind of like perfect, or close to perfect. And then I filter it just to sort of make it sound warmer without hearing all this kind of like high frequencies from the glass, right? And that gave us a bass sound which has got a little bit of character. You wouldn't be able to know if that was created with a synth, but it's definitely something about that sound that sounds interesting. Okay, I'm going to show you the other techniques that you can use when you have like recordings of traffic or recording of something that's kind of noisy. And I'm actually not going to use simpler for this. I'm actually going to use warping. And warping is extremely cool. I mean, I love it, and I think you guys will agree after this. So let me just bring this down. I might actually take those notes. I don't like that. No, I might just, sorry, I'm just a bit against this kind of bass. I'm not really feeling it. So I'm just going to shift them down. That's a little bit better. And I'm going to make that mono as well, so you can use the utility to do that. There you go. And then, of course, I could use the EQ. Right, so now let's say I want to create some extra hi-hats to this. And I'm just going to use fan sounds. And I'm going to use the fan sounds that I am providing you with this week as well. So I've got them here. So let's have a listen. I think there's something here that we might be able to use. It's like a constant sort of sound. So that could work. Let's see what that sounds like, that bathroom fan. Let me just move that in there. Let me take two. I'm just going to use that, but let's see if there's anything else that could work. Maybe not that. Let's see. No, I'm looking for something a little bit. Yeah, that's quite noisy. Okay, I'm just looking for something that sounds really noisy and quite high in frequency. So let's see what else is there. No, that. Oh man, that's perfect. Oh, let's try that. Cool. Let's say now I wanted to add some hi-hats. I've got this recording here, which obviously I can play around with, and I can just set a loop. Maybe just gonna set this loop here. Right? And at the moment, it doesn't sound anything like a hi-hat, but we are gonna turn it into a hi-hat. Let's have a listen to that with just a beat. All right. So one thing that we can do while we're working with beats mode is we can use these preserved transients, or we can also divide the audio into an equal number of divisions, right? So we can divide the audio by, for example, quarter notes. And we're not hearing it, so what we need to do is we need to go over here, go to one shot, and shorten the decay, right? So basically what's actually happening, imagine if I put the grid to quarter notes. What's actually going to happen is that at this point, we're going to hear the audio. Because I'm shortening the decay, we're only going to hear the beginning of the sound, and then it's going to decay out, and at the next quarter note, we're going to hear the beginning of the sound, and then it's going to decay, right? So it's easier just for me to kind of like play you back. Look. And obviously I can pitch it up. I actually prefer it lower for some reason, that's like nicer. Right, that out of that noise. Or we can divide it by like, I don't know, 16 notes. And shorter the decay, for example. Make that decay shorter. So obviously, as you know, 1/16 is going to cut the audio very quickly, right? For every 1/16 of a note. And if we shorten the decay, it's going to make it sound really snappy and tight. Right, one lovely thing that we can do when we're using, for example, beats modes, and we're using 1/16 or any of the other modes, is that the audio can be grooved. So, if I have a look here, maybe not. Let me just have a look, see if I can actually steal the groove. No, but let's just steal a groove from like the groove pool. Let's just add a little bit of swing onto that. And this is another thing that's really cool, right? Because we can't use groove on audio. Right, so let's just go here. Let's find like a MPC maybe. I don't know if you guys got like a favorite. I just love the NPC ones, but let's see if I can find it. Logic NPC. There you go. Let's just get. No, that's too intense. That sounds cool, and we can apply that to obviously this, right? And we can go groove and apply it. Right? So that's one sound, right? We can also get something that sounds like traffic. That in itself is, there's a lot of stuff going on there. Right, for example. And we can apply the similar technique, right? There's actually people talking there. And again, we can do the same thing. I can go to beats, I can go to transients, and I can say, I don't know, let's just do like quarter notes, one shot, and shorten it, see what it sounds like. That kind of sounds like percussive in a way, doesn't it? Or maybe I can go to the beginning. It doesn't sound like the sound of traffic anymore, does it? It just sounds like some interesting kind of percussive sound. And obviously we can play with the pitch a little bit, like, I can sort of see if that sounds any different. I quite like that. And I could add some reverb or something as an interesting kind of texture. So you see, like, we just recycling sounds like that and play around with it. The same thing for this one here. Let's just do something a little bit different with this. Not that exciting, to be honest, but I don't know what's going to be there. Right, let's go, let's leave this section. Right, little secret for you guys. I don't know if you guys might have covered this on ITP, but I don't know, I just show you just in case anyway. So if I delete the transients, which is basically by highlighting the waveform and just backspace to delete, okay, one thing I can do is I can just add transients wherever I want, right? Like so, by double clicking, right? And that can be quite interesting as a way to sort of chop the audio. So I'm going to go again, beats, transients, single shot, make the decay very short, right? And depending on where I put the transients, it's almost like creating like a percussive type sound, right? Like a percussive sort of rhythm. Look. I mean, let's just play with the beat. Let's turn the car down. It's a bit too intense, isn't it? That's cool. I don't mind that. Let's apply the groove. And obviously you can pitch it right down, see if maybe it sounds a little bit more percussive. That's cool. I don't mind that. Maybe the hi-hats could be a little bit quieter. They're really getting to me now. Which ones are they? I think it's this one. No, that's the bass. No, what are the hi-hats? Yeah, those ones are a bit too intense, aren't they? And of course, another thing I wanted to emphasize, when using fan sounds, yeah, we're experimenting, and obviously, I hope you guys are remembering some of these things because I'm going to get you guys to do that in a minute. But so you see, I'm just playing around with warping, I'm playing around with beats, and I'm just getting something that's kind of constant, like an engine, fan, you name it. And then I just kind of, if I'm using transients, I'm just adding transients wherever I place, and that's where I'm going to hear the sound being starting from the transient, right? And then I'm just shortening the decay so it sounds kind of placky, right? Obviously, if I had a very long decay, that sounds like the fan. But if I shorten the decay, right? And if I want to turn it into more of a percussive type sound, that's when you go EQ. EQ is your friend. And we're not going to use EQ in the mixing way. We're going to use an EQ as a shaping tool, as an sculpting tool. So think when you're working with fan sounds, think of the EQ as sculpting, as if you got the fan sound is kind of like a piece of marble or something. And with the EQ, we're just going to shape it into something that we like. So we're going to change the character of the sound into something that we like. So with the EQ, you can just go, that's got too much low end. Okay, cool. Let's see if we can get more of a bongo sort of sound to it just by bringing some of this resonance. For example, right? And then you can sort of explore what's there and filter it and do whatever, like. Maybe that sounds better. Yeah, I've got like that. Right? So the cue, in a sense, is like we're just sort of experimenting with what's there in the sound. The same thing for the hi-hats. Obviously, I haven't touched any of these hi-hats. If I want to make then a sound, obviously the bass, I can EQ it. That's not really the hi-hat. I think these are the hi-hats. So I can go here and I can say, okay, maybe with the EQ, I can shape them up to be more like a hi-hat. You can see that this is kind of like just noise, So let's remove the low end. Right, let's get rid of that. I maybe just put some of this. And you can even add some kind of resonant peaks if you want it. So it sounds a little bit more like a hi-hat, right? So let's have a listen to that. And we can shorten, I can turn it down a little bit. Right? So you can see that the EQ is really going to help you shape the sound you want. Same thing for anything that's kind of like a kick or anything like that. For example, just to give you an idea, I've got my kick there, and I'm going to play you what the original kick sounded like before the EQ. That was me actually hitting the pillow. So I had a pillow on my bed, I had the phone, I just recorded that. That's the sound of the pillow. Nothing like special. But with the EQ, you can see that, this is very important when working with fan sounds. The EQ is also going to allow you to see what's actually going on in terms of like the frequency or the density of the sound, right? You can see this is too much low end there. So I can like remove that. And I can add a little bit more bites to the kick. See? And then I can say, okay, well, add it like that. Let's cut it. And eventually it kind of becomes a kick drum, So if you listen to the other EQ I have, that's the sound I got. And then obviously you can use drum bass if you want to add more transient, or the boom is going to allow you to have a little bit more low end energy, right? That's basically what we'll be creating, right? So out of that sound, we're actually creating a kick sound. And that kick sound is not going to sound like anything you've got on any other records or on any sample packs, because you're actually creating a kick out of your own recording of you hitting the pillow or whatever. If you hit like your table, with your hand and record that, you can pitch it down and then see what happens, right? So you can sort of hear the effect that EQ has. EQ is absolutely crucial for fan sounds, because with EQ you can sort of see like, what do I like about this sound? Does that sound annoying? Okay, let's cut it. Oh, it could be brighter. Maybe let's put some of the highs. You have to make these decisions. You just have to kind of like use your ears and be like, okay, what I've got here. Obviously, something, as I said, something that is like wood, made out of wood, like door slam as well would work really well for a kick. Something that's like, like something that has got like a really nice sort of, you can hear this massive hit, right? Like door slamming or like kicking something, right? So something with a lot of impact, so to speak, right? That's going to work really well for kicks, right? Anything that's noisy is going to work really well for hi-hats, but that's also going to work really well for snares type sounds, right? So for example, if I show you here, I've got this snare, which I actually got layered here, right? So it's like 2 takes, one for the left and one for the right. And originally that snare was just like me hitting the table, nothing else. And I just kind of boosted some of the highs, remove some of the low frequencies, and just give it a little bit of a boost, just to give a little more bite. See? And eventually it became a snare. So you can actually hear that the beats don't sound like found sounds anymore, you know? It's like once you start kind of shaping them, you turn them into something else. Right? I don't mind that. That's okay. I mean, the hi-hats are way too loud. You know, you probably are going like, oh my God, Hector, those hi-hats are ridiculously loud. I do agree, right? I probably will just stand them down a touch. Yeah. But there you go, right? And I'm going to show you another technique, and then I'm going to get you guys to play and ask me questions, obviously, because this is the fun part of this. But I hope that you guys are able to appreciate how far you can push your own recordings. All I'm doing is creating sounds, but I also created the bass, right? You saw me doing that. And you can create a myriad of other different elements for your track. But I'm going to show you one little technique that once you've seen it once, you will use it all the time with found sounds. And it's not just my technique, obviously I learned it too, but I wanted to share with you just in case you weren't aware of this. So let's say I'm gonna use this particular sample because I tried it before and it's the one that works best. I think it's called the Cafe Ambience. Let me find it first on the found sounds. There you go. I think it's this one. Right, there's people talking and there's just like random stuff happening. Right, cool. So let's just put that in there. And you might be thinking to yourselves, okay, Hector, within that recording is just quite a lot. Like there's an impact sound there, for example, like if I play that and loop that, that's, that could be like a kick or like a snare or something, like I could, turn that into like a hi-hat if I want, I don't know. Or like turn it right down and get some kind of weird percussive sounds, right? So always experiment with the pitch and stuff. But that's not what I wanted to show you. What I want to show you is this. I'm going to turn warping off, actually. And I'm going to show you this technique, which blew me away, and I hope you guys will appreciate it as well. So by default, this sound doesn't really have a pitch. It's just kind of crazy, just lots of nonsense. But there's one technique that we can use using an EQ. And with an EQ, what we can do is we can actually give a pitch to anything. And I mean anything. It could be the sound of a rainstorm, it could be the sound of like birds playing in the forest, it could be the sound of a waterfalls or river or you name it. You can add a pitch to anything. How do we do that? By boosting it, by bringing it. So obviously, here you can see this is quite a noisy recording. Let me just make a big screen so you can see it. There's quite a lot going on in here, right? Mostly low-end energy. Also there's like talking, some high-end frequencies. So one thing I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to use an EQ. And there's two things that you can do. Personally, I'm gonna tune it to middle C, but an octave above middle C, which is middle C is 256 hertz. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tune it to one octave above, which is double. So I'm gonna tune it to 524 hertz, just for now, right? So let's do that just briefly. Okay, cool. So I've got this frequency here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make it really narrow and just boost it. Right, and I'm going to use the scale to increase it. Can you hear this like a woo sound that's playing there? Can you hear that? Okay. It might not be enough, so sometimes you have to just double it. I'm just going to duplicate it. Play with the scale a little bit, so this is kind of the intensity. I just have to hear like a very defined tone. Can you hear that? Is that all the time, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to freeze the track and flatten it. And I'm going to put this recording into simpler or sampler. I'm just going to put it in simpler. And now, if I play that, higher, obviously. So nice. So you're hearing that resonant note. And you're hearing the voices and everything, but now we can play it. You see what I mean? And it can be applied to anything. Like, it doesn't have to be that sample. As long as you got like a long recording, you can apply to it. In fact, maybe just do it with like one of my own recordings, so maybe like birds singing, just to show you again, right? So it's cool because we're taking a recording that originally didn't have like a defined pitch, and just by using the cue and boosting that specific frequency, now we are adding a tone. We are adding actually a pitch to the recording, and when you play on the keyboard, it's nice. It just sounds melodic, but still has got the fan sound elements. Let me see if I got some birds recordings here. Bear with me. There we go. And please, by the way, I hope you guys are following along. Let me know if you've got any questions. Is everyone okay so far? Just let me know. Just feel free to use the chat or just unmute yourselves if you want to ask anything, right?
Hector, I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, I just missed the part where you put the sound in a specific sampler afterwards.
Oh, you missed that part? Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll show you again with another sound anyway. So I'm just going to do the whole process again.
Okay, thank you.
And then you can see. No, that's absolutely fine, no worries. So this is, for example, the British Museum. Just people, right? It was actually really busy at that time. So I just got the ambience of that. And obviously it would be a nightmare to actually make something out of this, right? Because it's just kind of noisy, you know, there's a lot going on. Or let's just try it with birds. See if I got any birds in there. Or like some kind of, I don't know if I got any birds. No. Okay, I'll just use that for now. Right, I'll show you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an EQ, and I'm just going to drag it in there, and again I'm going to set it to the same frequency. I've got it written down here, so it's 524. So let's do that. 24 hertz. Or you can, let's do it to A, right? So let's do it to 440 hertz. So that's actually A on the keyboard, right? Middle A on the keyboard, bang on, right? So that's 440 hertz. Let's just do that. So let's just bring the gain up and let's just sort in, let's narrow the Q. So eventually we should be able to hear like a pronounced tone. Right, it's not enough, so let's duplicate the EQ again. That's nice. It's like a constant ring. Can you hear it? It's like a... Right, so let's just do that one more time. Let's just go here. Let's freeze the track. Let's flatten it. And then I'm just going to put a MIDI track. By the way, by default, when you have a MIDI track, there's a tab which is normally on the left side. It's going to show you the clips. And on the right side, it's going to show you any instruments that you might have on the MIDI track. And by default, you can see that it says drop an instrument or sample here. So by default, if you take an audio sample or an audio recording and drop it on this area, Ableton will automatically create a sampler with the sample loaded inside, which is actually really handy, right? So this is basically how you do it. So now if I play this back, we should be able to play that. It's cool, isn't it? And then, I mean, I don't know, I can go higher. And then obviously if you're looking to create like some kind of like ambience of some sort, then also Morgan, yeah, it sounds great, doesn't it? I quite like that. And also it's because it's 3D, so it just adds that kind of
Can I
extra.
ask a question?
Yeah, go for it.
Where did you learn that?
Where did I learn it? Oh man, it's over the years, like just random knowledge I had over years as well. But
That's crazy.
I just wanted to share that with you. And if you want to take it up a notch, there's things that we can do. So, for example, effects that work really well with fan sounds. If you're looking to create textures, reverb. It's gonna be one of them, right? So if I use reverb. Right? You can hear the reverb is just gonna add a little bit of flavor. We're getting top secret methods. You are indeed, Nick. So again, it's for your eyes only, right? Don't share it. And there's another device I'd like to add, which is, you guys are gonna be like, what? But yeah, so if I'm playing a chord, if I'm playing a note like this, and I want to make something that sounds a little bit more interesting, I can add a grain delay, and the grain delay is actually not used enough, but it's so cool. Like, I'll just show you briefly. So in the grain delay, I can go over here and I can make it so it doesn't delay, right? So I can actually, rather than adding delayed notes, I'm gonna make that so it's synced to time and it's 1 millisecond, so it's just adding 1 millisecond delay, which is nothing. And then here I can like that to get, I'm gonna say they're warping off because I don't like the effect of warping. Right, and what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna shift this so it's 12 semitones higher, and I'm gonna blend the original signal with the signal from the grain delay, and check this out. Right, and then let's add some feedback. It's just nice. It adds like another octave above, so to speak. So it just adds like a really nice flavor to any sound, right? So grain delay can be really good to experiment with like textures. Also, you can do obviously much lower if you want to add like a bit of rumble or like a cinematic feel. You see? Really cool. And then play with the pitch, if you guys like. So that's one thing that you can do. There's other devices, and this will conclude what I'm going to show you today, and then I'm just going to get you guys to play, and I really want to hear what you guys create, because I think it's going to be pretty awesome. So I don't want to saturate you. So the last thing I'll show you, this one device that can also add, if you got found sound, and you want to make the found sound melodic, and it sounds like, I don't know. So let's, what I've got here is this. Let me just see what we got. Maybe you just made some chords with that. Oh, that's nice. Hold on. Let's just do that. There you go. Just really basic, right? Some super basic chords for now, anyway. I just, that's what came out anyway. Right, so you can hear that I just added that. Right? So that's one sound. But now let's say, I'm just going to show you with a completely random sample. Look at this. This is also so cool. Let's get the cars, I think. So this definitely hasn't got a pitch, right? It's just like, right. There's one device called Corpus. I don't know if you guys use it. It's an effect. It's an effect that basically, it uses a technique called physical modeling, right? Which basically recreates the behavior of different surfaces in instruments, right? So the sound of the strings from a violin, or the sound of, I don't know, a metallic surface, and you can select the different kind of materials here. But for this example, basically what this is doing is just taking the sound and putting it through here, right? And I'm gonna go here and make that, the quality, I'm gonna make that to echo. And you can hear it's like a nice way to take any fan sound and just add a tone on the fan sound, right? And you can change the different materials, like that, like that. Right, so if I were to record that, if I were to freeze that, let me just show you that. Right, if I were to freeze that and flatten it, that would then become like another interesting kind of pad sound, right? So let's just play that. And that's the sound of traffic, right? So there, the corpus is another device that you can use to create something like that. All right, let's have a look. Yeah, so Robin is saying that he uses corpus for making hard techno. Yeah, it's a bit Blade Runner-y. I wasn't going for that, but yeah, it kind of came out that way, didn't it, in the end? So I don't know. All right, cool. So let me tell you what I would like you guys to do while I'm doing the class list and all that stuff. So right, so what I've got here, I want you guys to, if you got your own found sounds recorded, or sounds that you recorded over time, and you want to incorporate them into a project, that's fine. You can use your own found sounds. If you haven't got your own found sounds, then download the ones I shared with you earlier, which I'm going to repost just in case. So these ones, please. I mean, you got them already from the previous masterclass, but just in case. I want you to show me two things. Okay, so I want you to show me that you can take any of the found sounds I was showing you before from the list, and yeah, I want you to make like a basic drum beat with them, but I want you to shape the sounds. I want the drums to sound like drums, or as close as possible to drums, right? So I want you to pitch it up, pitch it down, see if you can make it sound like a kick, and then use the EQ to kind of just boost certain frequencies until it kind of sounds a bit like a normal kick drum, or as close to a kick drum, or as close to a snare. Remember, the snares, anything that's noisy is going to give you snare. Anything that's noisy is going to give you like a hi-hat type sound. So I want you to create a drum kit with a kick drum, snare, and a hi-hat. Okay, and anything else you want, like whatever goes, right? If you want to do that. But I want you to try to make them sound as good as you can. Like, make them sound cool. You can obviously use effects. You can use the drum bass if you want to add a little bit more punch. EQ, reverb, you name it, you can use it. Obviously, just the stuff with Ableton. So I want you to just really focus or aim to manipulate the fan sounds and actually make them sound like something that you really like. Something that you would use in a track. Not something that you're just kind of like messing around with and you're like, nah, I don't know. Something that you're like, actually, I would use this, that sounds cool. Something that gets to that point. So that's one part of the project. And the second part of the project is I want you guys to create a melodic instrument. You can either record something that's melodic in nature, obviously, like a glass, right? The same thing I've done before. Or you can use that technique I just shown you, in which I'm using the EQ and I'm boosting 440 hertz, right? To get that pure tone. And remember that one EQ might not be enough, so you might have to use two EQs in series to really hear. You need to use your ears and just really hear that frequency kind of jumping out, and then freeze flatten, and then play on the keyboards. So I want you to do that. I want you to basically create convincing drums, something that sounds cool. I want it to be quite convincing, and a melodic element that goes with it. And if you got time, if you're at pros, then a bass line. But the only condition is that you can't use anything, just found sounds. All right. So no third-party samples, just found sounds, either your own found sounds you recorded yourselves or the ones I provided you with. Is that someone is clear? Yeah, you guys with me on this? Wicked. So I think it's going to be fun. And then I'm going to give you like, I don't know, I'm going to give you like 40 minutes or something like that, I think. And then I'm obviously going to be with you. So any questions, just feel free to ask me. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing the screen now. I'm going to create the breakout rooms. So I think we got, let's see if I can do, I'm going to do 3 breakout rooms. Okay. And I'll create them now, and I'll see you guys in a sec. All right. Alrighty, cool. So we're back now, and I'm just going to wait for everyone else to return from the breakout rooms. And I hope you guys had a bit of fun tweaking the sounds and making the sound as good as you can make them. Right at this stage, obviously, it's the first week that we're talking a little bit about found sounds, but obviously, this found sounds is something that is going to be part of the assignment anyway. So it's something that I will want you guys to get familiarized with it. And obviously for the assignment would be like really cool if you used your own found sounds, and hence me kind of like enforcing you guys to get like an application to record found sounds on your phones. If you haven't got like a portable recorder, if you have a portable recorder, even better, right? Or if you don't have a portable recorder and you don't want to use your phone, you can just use your laptop mic. And like the new Macs, for example, laptop mics are like studio quality almost, so you can record on that. Or even if the recording is not that great, it's how you use it, right? So like Burial, for example, you could say that the quality of some of the recordings within those sounds wasn't that amazing. I mean, it was like a PlayStation 1 game, so the audio might have not been that amazing to start with. But even then, it was all about flavor and just getting the right sounds and getting the right beats. And he makes something that sounded unique and amazing, and it's stand the test of time. Those sort of songs are the songs that you hear over and over again, and they just sound unique, and I think that's very important. Having a unique sound is great, so you don't pigeonhole yourself too much in a specific genre. Or if you play on a genre, you can add your own unique flavor to it by using found sounds, for example. Right? So cool. So I don't know who would like to maybe just share what you guys have been working on. It would be great to just have a listen anyway. Any of you guys would like to give it a go? Yeah, Marcel is just saying he can go first. He just answered in the chat. And then Kimi, cool. Do you want to go ahead, Marcel? Like whoever else wants to share, you can also type in the chat as well. Yeah, so go for it.
Sure. Thanks.
Cool.
You can see the screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Let's see if you can hear it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we can hear that. Cool. So let's see what you got. So you got the drums in there?
Yes.
Alright, let's solo the drums for a sec. If we listen
solo
to
the drums, okay.
Yeah, listen. Cool. So you use the door for the kick?
Yes.
Nice. I probably will just like a second EQ just to give the kick a lot more kind of low end, because one EQ seems like it's not enough to sort of bring the punch, isn't it?
Yeah, there is no punch at all, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes just having like another EQ, boosting that frequency again, we'll just do the trick. Like the way we use EQs with found sounds is, in a way, we sculpted the raw sound and we just shifting it and making it sound in a specific way by kind of bringing some of the energy that might be hidden within the sample, right? So yeah, maybe like on that one, you could have added another EQ just to try to boost it even more, to just sort of get that sort of like roundness on the low end, so it's got a little bit more bite. And then the drum bass, you can also sort of use the drum bass and enhance the transient as well of the kick to kind of give it a little bit more bite, if that makes sense, right? So transients in drum bass is amazing, and I use it all the time. So if you click on the transients and go up, it's just gonna give that extra punch at the beginning of the sound. So you'll hear the difference. You see? It's got a little bit more bite. There you go. And then yeah, another EQ you can use that to kind of try to bring more of the low end with just like a narrow, with a bell shape EQ. There you go. And then you can play with the length of the actual sample. So you can kind of make that a little bit shorter. You see? Even shorter. So it just sounds like a kick. Like, there you go. Doesn't that sound like a kick a little bit more?
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So just kind of playing around with
Certainly
that.
does.
Playing around with that is just like kind of sculpting the sound, right? But I love the snare as well. That's so cool. Really nice. Awesome. And then you got the lift to create the hi-hat. That's really effective. Nice. And you could boost the highs as well on the hi-hat if you want. You can just raise some of the there, see, and suddenly you just get that kind of nice top end that's very characteristic of a hi-hat, just by boosting it. It's almost like just, there you go. That's cool. I love that snare. It almost sounds like Prince or something. It's so weird. It's got that sort of Prince sound. That's cool. Yeah, don't know. It works really well. I mean, I wouldn't be able to tell that was just like stomping under a bridge, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing for the snare. Like you could try like a narrow band and try to bring some of the punch for the low end. So you can maybe like move it to like 120 hertz or something. There you go. And then kind of boost it. Try boosting it around there. There you go. And again, you can tighten it if you make the sample shorter as well. There you go. There you go. So you got a snare now. I mean, it sounded good before anyway, but I just kind of like just giving you some ideas on how to kind of shift it, right?
Very cool.
Wicked. And then you got the other sound as well that you were playing, right? That's cool. What was the original sample for that?
This
Track number 3? Oh, that's the lowering.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice. That's awesome. Well done. Well done, Marcel.
Thank you so
Thanks so
much.
much. No worries, man. Thanks so much for sharing. But you can see, like, you can tweak it, you can adjust it, and get closer to the sound you're after. As long as you start with something that, you know, if it sounds, you know, if it sounds kind of impactful, like if it sounds like if it's a sound that has got a lot of impact, it's easier to create something that sounds kind of like a kick or a bongo or like some kind of like tom or something, right? So you can see. Cool. Who would like to go next? I think Kimmy. Would you like to share your screen with us?
All right. Let's see if this works.
Cool.
I tried a different ACO this time. Let's hope this works. It's the FL Studio one, which
No worries.
like to cause too many issues. I'll just
All
solo
right.
this and tell me if you can hear it.
Yeah, we can hear that. That's cool.
So everything here is a found sound, except the clap. For the life of me, I cannot make a clap.
Oh, it's hard. Yeah, you need for a clap. You have to record a clap. Really, the claps are really hard to make.
But it's
But,
just like whistle samples, and the sub bass is also a really pitched down whistle.
Nice.
So it kind of sounds like this.
Oh, you done a lot of work. Nice.
The exact same time around.
How about the kicks and everything?
Oh, these. This is me slamming my table. This is a really
Brilliant.
nested envelope.
Yeah, exactly. So I told you guys, like, kind of like wooden type sounds are really good for like kicks. Like, it's straight away you can sort of hear it.
Yeah, just
That's
get
really
angry
good.
at your table, smack it.
Yeah. But you also pitch it down, and then you kind of like boost the low end as well with the EQ, didn't you? To kind of like get the sound you were going for. But that sounds really good, man. That sounds very realistic. So yeah, awesome. Really, really nice work.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. And I look forward as well, guys, to, getting to know you a little bit more and having a chat during the one-to-ones, as you know, tomorrow and the day after. For those of you that haven't booked a slot, I still got some free slots the day after tomorrow. So if you can go ahead and book those, that would be amazing. And it's the first one-to-ones. It's kind of like a bit of an introduction, but obviously any projects or anything like that you want to share with me, have them prepared. And I will definitely go through the forum and just kind of like check your music before the one-to-one, just to make sure that I want to, as I always say, I want to customize the one-to-ones to your production level. So so I can help you as much as I can with anything to do with audio manipulation and audio production. And I think maybe like Nick, if you want to go and just share your project, that'd be great. And I mean, I don't mind just extending it a couple of minutes extra, because you already kind of said that you wanted to go after. Do you want to share your screen, Nick?
Yeah.
Wicked.
Let me know if you can hear this.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so this is what I came up with.
That's cool.
Yeah, I used that method you used.
For the kind of melody, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, but I didn't use any of these found sounds you provided. I used all my own.
No, that's fine. I mean, it's absolutely fine as long as the task was for you guys to kind of try to make the found sounds sound as realistic as possible by using EQ and effects. And I think you've done it, right? Because from what I can hear, the sounds are up, so they got like a really interesting kind of character to them.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, actually, for the kick, I did use the tube door shutter.
Yeah, just the impact, so you get that. That's wicked.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
That's it.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for sharing, Nick. And so hopefully you guys, you start to sort of hear what's there, what's available just by manipulating found sounds, right? And that sort of opens a few more possibilities as producers, right? So anyway, guys, it's been a pleasure to have you on board this masterclass as usual, and I look forward to catching up with you over the next couple of days. And in the meantime, any questions, just give us a shout. All right?
Yes.
So take care, everyone, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.